Hello, YouTubers, and welcome back to another episode of The Grandstand here on the Ohio Patriot Education Network YouTube channel. I'm, as always, your host, AR, the Ohio Patriot. And for today's episode, we're going to do an update to Ohio's 2A taxation, specifically to get the taxation gone for guns, ammo, and potentially safes in the state of Ohio pretty soon. They finally had the second hearing today. Went pretty good, it seems like. And, hopefully they can do this third hearing, and it would be, as far as my understanding, it would pretty much be the opponent / interested party testimony for the third hearing. And then it would be from there they could basically vote it out of the subcommittee and into an actual floor vote then. So hopefully that'll get gone pretty quick. Here's what it is in the next couple weeks. Here's what it is, which it seems like it probably will, given the fact that you've had 2 hearings and just as many weeks right now. Usually they don't do stuff like that unless they're going to fast track something through, is what it is. So I would assume there's going to be probably either here in October, or maybe like the first or second week of October. Here's what it'll be. They'll probably have like the third hearing then for the opponent / interested party testimony, and then probably an actual vote is what it'll be then. So for both 189 and 186 respectively. We're going to talk about some stuff here as well on that one. We're also going to talk about leftist mindsets, both later on when it comes to Reddit, and also in the General Assembly here in Ohio is what it is. And basically why Danny Isaac John and a bunch of other people need to kick out of the General Assembly right now, dude. So honestly, I kind of wish I'd been able to rip clips from the Ohio channel today for the House Ways and Means Committee there, because honestly, just the fucking bullshit that comes out of Danny Isaac John's mouth as a first-term state rep right now is probably the biggest fucking insult to this entire General Assembly, dude. Like, honestly, you look at the stupid bullshit this activist asshole says, because that's what this fucking guy is. He's not a state rep, dude. He's a fucking pretender. He's pretending to be a state rep. He is an oath-breaking sack of shit who has broken his oath to office every fucking day he's been in the General Assembly right now for almost an entire year currently. And the fact that he's still allowed to remain in office after the crap he's been pulling lately is fucking ridiculous. He should be exiled from this entire General Assembly and never allowed to hold elected office in this country ever again is what it is, dude. Because obviously the guy is legitimately like some MDA fucking plant or something like that, like whether it be Moms Demand Action or Students Demand Action or one of these fucking Bloomberg subsidiaries, whatever it is there for every town. Like, he's obviously been planted into a General Assembly through this douchebag basically paying for his entire campaign is what it is. And he'll sit there and espouse like anti-gun crap like crazy, and it's like, dude, just shut the fuck up, seriously. Like, nobody wants to hear your bullshit, Danny. Just resign from office, you fucking douchebag, and we get rid of that seat entirely is what it is. Because truthfully, he is holding one of the many Democrat seats right now that could easily be just folded into another one is what it is right now. You could just have that district folded into another district is what it is. And if we did the one county, one rep thing, his and a bunch of other districts already go away anyways what it is right now. Because again, when you have Democrats literally gerrymandering major cities like Cleveland, Columbus, Ohio, or Columbus, Cincinnati, etc., here in Ohio, you have like 10, 12 seats in all these different counties is what it is, when there should be one. There should be a single seat in every single one of those counties is what it is. So anyway, but yeah, the entire point of the matter is, so basically you had Christopher Lee, who is a representative for the National Shooting Sports Foundation, and basically I believe he said a few different things is what it was for what he actually represented. It was the NSSF, I know that for a fact, but it was also like some like trade groups or something as well on that one, which is basically a lot of firearms industry people is what it is there, because that's apparently what the NSSF actually is. It's like their whole like conglomerate, I guess is what you want to call it there, is actually I think he said they were the ones that were behind SHOT Show, actually, if I'm not mistaken. Like, they were actually the ones that funded SHOT Show every year is what it was, which makes sense, obviously. And then he was also talking about, discussing things with various gun manufacturers and firearms manufacturers, ammo manufacturers, et cetera, here, that if Ohio actually did away with taxation on guns and ammo right now, you would actually have an influx of these companies wanting to come into Ohio right now, which is awesome. And that's the thing, too. Like, we should have, like, this is the thing. This is the one thing I don't get about these anti-gun regime, right? Like, I don't care how anti-gun you really are, dude. Like, do you not like money? Do you not like the fact that you have more fucking people with a decent paying job in your state? Oh, no, you don't, because you're an anti-gun fuckstick, Danny Isaac John, Daniel Troy, et cetera. And I'm calling these assholes out by name at this point, dude, because these are the fucking people by the end of this year that I'm going to hopefully try to get thrown out of office under Article 1, Section 2 of the Ohio Constitution. Because I'm so sick and tired of their anti-gun bullshit is what it is, dude. They should have honestly, when they open their stupid fucking mouths in these subcommittees and stuff like that, right then and there, the chair of these committees, specifically in this case is Bill Romer, should gavel their ass down and immediately call for their expulsion from that committee and from the General Assembly entirely. When you're espousing anti-gun bullshit that is directly a violation of the oath you swore to both the Ohio and the U.S. Constitutions the day you took office on January, I believe it was 4th, 2023 here, it's bullshit, dude, to even allow these fuckers to remain in office after that, man. Because they're directly breaking their oath of office, what it is. Not to mention they're doing so in a way to attempt to deprive the citizenry of the state from a right to keep and bear arms. Which, by the way, I'd like to point something out on this one, dude. When you actually look at the Bill of Rights in the U.S. Constitution, these are things that the government cannot take away from you. There is a reason why the Second Amendment says shall not be infringed. It's the reason why it's the only amendment in the Bill of Rights that says shall not be infringed on it, dude. But yet every fucking day you have these douchebag Democrats and these fucking rhinos, etc. In this case, it's almost always Democrats here in Ohio. But in general, if you look at it, federally and stuff like that, it's also a bunch of rhino sacks of shit like Mitt Romney and most people like that is what it is. But the entire point I'm trying to make is you have these people continue to break their oath of office and not be thrown out on their fucking ass is what it is. And that's the biggest problem right now. But yeah, like the Christopher Lee guy, probably one of the most disgusting interactions I've seen today actually was you had a bunch of stupid questions being asked. And I actually called up my state rep, Reggie Stolfus, after this was all said and done. I left a message on his machine there because he didn't have anybody in the office to pick up the phone is what it was. And I thanked him because he actually was given a couple minutes to speak or whatever then. And it was obviously them asking questions and stuff like that. And he really didn't ask a question. What he basically said to Christopher Lee at the time was, dude, I'm sorry for all these stupid questions that these people are asking you. And he was right about that because it is. It's a fucking slap in the face, dude. It is an insult to sit there and waste people's time asking some of the dumbest fucking questions or trying to grandstand on the dumbest fucking things possible. That's all anti-gun BS at the end of the day. And think you deserve an answer for that kind of crap, dude. And that's exactly why Lee himself refused to answer Isaac John's stupid ass question at one point because I was trying to think exactly how Danny phrased this question because honestly, and this is what I cannot fucking stand about the Democrat Party in this country ever, dude. They are such a bunch of fucking hypocrite cunt bitches is what it is, dude. And I'm so fucking sick of their asses right now because they'll sit there and they'll act like we're doing it for the children. Yet meanwhile, every single fucking day in this nation, these cocksuckers are literally primary sponsoring and co-sponsoring legislation to mass murder kids in the womb right now, dude. And are backing the fucking bullshit in November that's now issue 1. That would allow for abortion on demand at the moment of birth, allow for child sterilization at any age, have no parental consent whatsoever on it. Be putting kids on hormone drugs when they're like fucking 5 years old because they think they were a fucking girl instead of a boy today, or they think they're a boy instead of a girl today, etc., etc. It is so fucking ridiculous, dude. But yeah, Isaac John's bitch ass was basically pointing out and the fucked up thing was he was basically bitching about taxation and stuff like that. And it was like, oh, well, I've done this study that claims if we take away all this money from the taxation of guns and ammo, that's enough money to actually feed every school kid for free in the state of Ohio. You're not feeding them for free, asshole. You're still stealing tax money from us fucking taxpayers, asshole. That's the entire fucking point, dickhead. And that's exactly why I can't stand these fucking cogs in the machine is what it is, dude. Because that's exactly what this fucking ass clown is at the end of the day, dude. He's a fucking dude that goes along to get along. And I guarantee you, if you actually investigate Danny Isaac John right now, dude, there's no fucking way that you're not going to find a shitload of bribe money in his fucking back pocket from Mouse Man Action, etc. there, dude. The same way they directly bribed Allison Russo back in May 2021 during the House Oversight Committee for Constitutional Carry back in the day. So, anyway. But yeah, that's my whole problem with these people entirely, dude. It's like, they will sit there and they're like, oh, but we care about the kids. No, you fucking don't, dude. You use children as political pawns because you're a fucking cunt who has no actual argument against the actual doing away with taxation on a God-given fucking constitutional right, asshole. And that's why I'm so sick and tired of your fucking shit, Danny. Honestly, I wish we did have mutual combat in this state, dude, because I would legitimately fight this fucking guy at this point. I mean that seriously. I would challenge his ass to a fucking fight right now if we had mutual combat in the state of Ohio right now, dude. Like, that's how sick and tired of him, this son of a bitch, honestly, dude. Not to mention the fact that Isaac John is one of these fucking anchor baby kids, if I'm not mistaken. He was one of these assholes who's basically an anchor child for his fucking parents, is what it is. Kind of how the two Somali motherfuckers that got in the General Assembly last go around too as well are foreign nationals who shouldn't be holding office in the state of this country. So, yeah, it's a bunch of asswipes who shouldn't be in office, is what it is. They should have been disqualified on the spot, and the fact that Isaac John's even in there to begin with is fucking ridiculous entirely, dude. So, but yeah, when he was bullshitting about, like, basically trying to equate, like, gun and ammo taxation to feeding kids and stuff like that, that's when you finally have this Christopher Lee guy be like, I'm not answering that question, dude, the way you phrased it. I would have just, I'm not answering that question at all, dude, because, and I would have called him out on that one. I would have been like, I'm not answering questions from oath-breaking pieces of shit like you, motherfucker, period. Fuck off. And I don't care if they kick me out of General Assembly after that, dude, or not, because I feel like I'm probably going to be, honestly. If I ever do get another testify on something, dude, I'm gonna fucking, you're going to see me make a name for myself down there, dude, because I'm going to go off on such a fucking tirade. They're going to have to literally pull me out of there with the fucking cops taking my ass out of the General Assembly, expelling me from it is what it'll be. But yeah. Well, probably not, maybe not quite to that level, but like, yeah, I'm definitely going to call people on their bullshit is what it is, man. And I might be swearing on the podium if that be the case. So, because sometimes you got to, man. You got to get your point across in some ways or another. But yeah, the entire point is, like, Danny Isaac John's a fucking scumbag who has no business being in our General Assembly. He's 100% a plant for Bloomberg and company. And should be expelled from the General Assembly immediately is what it is, dude. Over the crap he pulled, both today and last week for that matter. The same thing with Daniel Troy last week, trying to put in universal background checks into doing away with guns and ammo taxation is what it is here. So, and then what's funny actually is, as it was, you had, and this exactly explains what I've said before about how we need to have a thing where it's like, if you come into a state or whatever the case be, you should have voting rights for 10 years or so is what it is. So, one of these stupid fucking cunts from Honest Man Action down there, who obviously was busting for today, she basically admitted that her family moved away from Connecticut after Sandy Hook. Mind you, they stayed there for another 3 years after Sandy Hook, so they didn't leave until 2015 is what it was. Came here in like 2015, 2016, have only lived in the state of Ohio for like 7 to 8 years, give or take, and yet she wants to sit there and try and strip me and everybody else of our rights is what it is we're the ones who are actually Ohioans for life, you fucking transplant piece of shit. And that's what I'm saying, dude. Like, honestly, if it was up to me, I'd kick these fucking MDA cunts out of this fucking state entirely, dude. Because 95% of their asses don't even live in the state of Ohio past like a decade. They've only been here for a decade or less is what it is. They're all transplants from fucking Connecticut or Massachusetts or some other anti-gun hellhole is what it is, dude. That, for the main reason that they fled, by the way, it wasn't due to the fact that you had their fucking gun control utopias in the place. It was the fact their gun control utopias, number one, created more fucking massacres happen because you had everybody not being able to have gun rights in those states. And number two, it was taxation by fucking Democrats that they put into power there. Because that's the two things you can always count on with Democrat Party, dude, is making you less safe by stealing your rights away from you, by the way. And on top of that, taxing you to death, basically. It's exactly why I see some people flee from California to places like Texas or other border states like Arizona, New Mexico, et cetera, there, because of the fact that they realize, like, oh, you know, we put in these dumbass Democrats, and shocker, they raised taxes like 10 times on us in the last 10 years. And then they're like, we can't afford our houses anymore. And then what do? Instead of actually going someplace else and voting a different way, they'll sit there and go full retard and just become locus of society is what it is. Go to a different state, a different city, whatever it is in a different state, usually is what it is there. And they'll keep voting the same fucking way. And they'll vote in the worst possible candidates ever that are in the fucking race, and then they wonder why you have like mass murder sprees going on everywhere is what it is, dude. It's not that hard to figure out. Just shut the hell up, stop voting for the fucking Democrat Party ever, and things will change, honestly. And I'm not saying vote Republican either. I'm saying vote any other fucking political party that's not Democrat is what I'm talking about, dude. I'm talking about Libertarian, I'm talking about Green Party, I'm talking about, you know, Constitutional Party, whatever the case be. Hell, like I said before, if you're going to vote a fucking communist, dude, at least I understand, at least I will respect you for admitting that you're a fucking commie, you know? I'm still going to hate you because you're a fucking commie, but like, seriously, at least I'll be like, okay, thank you for doing that. Now fuck off is what it would be. So, but yeah, like that's the whole point entirely. But anyway, yeah, it's just a bunch of clown asses, dude. But you pretty much had the one chick from MDA that was the transplant for like 7-8 years now is what it was. Before she got up to the podium, she's like, "Oh, my glasses just broke," and it was like the side of her frames and stuff, like busted and stuff. And it's like, dude, if that's not karma, I don't know what is, because it's obviously like God smiting you at that point, like just slightly, because it's the bullshit you're about to spew out of your fucking mouth, lady. And of course she did. She basically tried to force the creation of like some bullshit amendment for safe storage laws into the fucking HB186, which is basically about doing away with taxation on safes and I believe it was locking devices is how Sean Brennan and Daryl Troy put it, or yeah, not Daryl, Darnell Brewer put it up there. Sorry, I was Danny. Like that's the problem. There's too many D's in our fucking General Assembly right now, dude. There's too many dickheads there, is what it really is, honestly. But yeah, you got Darnell, you got Daniel, you got Danny, et cetera, and yeah, sometimes you think Troy and yeah, Brewer and everything. Yeah, it's whatever. But yeah, so it's basically Darnell Brewer and Sean Brennan, who were the ones that were the sponsors of HB186. Both of them are Democrats, by the way. And obviously it's for, safes, storage devices, et cetera, for guns. And of course, this Moms Demand Action cunt was trying to put in like, oh, we should have mandatory safe storage laws. And of course, what did she do on that one? She then tried to grandstand by fucking equating it to Sandy Hook and stuff like that, dude. By the way, one thing that's come out in the last decade or so, you dumb bitch, you clearly don't fucking want out there, because I'm going to call you out on this one right now, actually, lady, is how the piece of shit that y'all claim did that fucking massacre killed his mother and then stole the keys or the combination, whatever it was, to that fucking safe to go unlock the safe and steal her fucking guns, because all of her guns were secured in a gun safe. And that's the one thing she did bring up. She was like, oh yeah, after the fact, the college found like an unlocked gun safe. It's like, yeah, they found it unlocked because the motherfucker unlocked it after he killed her and stole the fucking guns out of it, you dumb bitch. Evil doesn't care, man. They will do what they have to get a hold of something. A gun safe, a fucking gun locker, whatever the case be, is just a deterrent, dude. If somebody really wants to get into these things, they will. If they have the time and stuff, they'll just fucking cut through the goddamn safe if they have to, man, to get to the shit. And that's the point. It's a simple deterrent is what it is. It's not an actual thing that's going to completely do away with the thing. And then to sit there and talk about how, and basically what she's equating it to, and this is something that, by the way, this is what I fucking hate about Moms Demand Action so much, dude. Every single thing that they sit there and claim as common sense gun laws, it's a bunch of shit lies, by the way. It's a bunch of bullshit lies entirely. And the thing is, it's all feel-good legislation. You cannot legally enforce safe storage laws in this state or in this country, for that matter, unless you would have cops literally breaking people's Fourth Amendment rights for illegal search and seizures, by the way, which we can sue the fuck out of the police departments for at that point, because they would have to break the Fourth Amendment rights of every citizen in this country to illegally come into our homes and search our shit to make sure it's locked up properly. It's an unenforceable law, period. It's unenforceable legislation ever, is what it is. And I'm so sick and tired of them trying to push that shit forward, dude. And it's the same bullshit with red flag laws, by the way. You have people doing illegal shit behind your back without your knowledge, doing ex parte hearings where you're not even part of them, to actually look at your accuser in the fucking face, which is something you actually have a right to do under the Constitution, by the way, in several different amendments. And then they want to sit here and bitch and moan and babble on about, oh no, but this is totally safe people. No, it hasn't. It's killed multiple people, dude. It's killed at least 2 in Connecticut, or not Connecticut, in Maryland that we know about, which is Gary J. Willis and Duncan Lemp. Specifically in Duncan Lemp's case, the cops admitted it was a break and break is what they call them, where they'll literally wait until after dark and stuff like that, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, which is what they did to that kid, fucking busted the shit out of his window, and then ran through it, basically. And what of course, are you going to do? You're going to think you're being fucking invaded, home invaded or something else for that matter. What's going to be your first instinct as a gunner? You're going to grab a fucking gun, dude, to protect yourself and your family. Which is exactly what Duncan did in that case, and then they killed his ass. Of course, there's no body cam footage of that, because why would there be? Because, of course, you would actually have it prove that they murdered this kid in cold blood. By the way, for those who don't know about Duncan Lemp's story, you probably don't know about it because it happened one day after that stupid bitch Breonna Taylor's death happened. And I could go on a whole tirade about that fucking dumb cunt, honestly, dude, because she was a hardcore criminal, dude. Anybody that defends that dumb bitch is a fucking idiot, honestly, and I'll tell them that to their face, honestly, at this point, dude. Like, there's more than enough evidence out there that proves that girl was knee deep in drug shit, and not to mention she was driving around with a fucking dead body in her car and stuff like that, dude. Like, yeah, pretty sure you're a hardcore criminal at that point, dude. If you got some dead guy's fucking body in your trunk and shit for like days at a time, there, lady. But of course, you try to paint her as like this. Oh, she's just an EMT. No, she wasn't, dude. She got fired from being an EMT because she was stealing fucking drugs from the ambulance. This is what it was, people. Jesus Christ. Like, again, this is all easily researched stuff on that girl, you know? Now, granted, was it okay for the cops to do no-knock warrants? No, it wasn't, dude. And that's the entire point. I'm against no-knock warrants entirely. That being said, when you actually look at the whole case on that one, they did knock several times is what it was, dude. So it's not like it really was a no-knock warrant either, for that matter. But anywho, and that really just goes to the whole BLM as a bunch of asswipes trying to just fleece everybody for money as a money laundering organization. Terrorists is what it is. So anyway, but yeah. So pretty much like I said, though, you had small hearings here. It's probably about a half hour, 45 minutes, give or take, between HB189 and HB186. You had like 5 or 6 people testify in favor of various things is what it was. You actually had the Christopher Lee guy was the only dude in person to testify for HB189. I'd have been there personally today, but unfortunately, couldn't make the trip down to Columbus because mom's back's all fucked up right now. And unfortunately, not being able to drive, I couldn't just take the car down there and do my thing, whatever the case be. But yeah, so basically you had that dude testify, and then you had some people like Rob Sexton and stuff like that submit who was Buckeye Firearms head there is what it is. I think Christopher Dorr or the people at OGO did the same thing as well, where they just sent their own like testimony in as like, readable testimony is what it is there. So I wish I had known about that one, honestly, because I may have done that myself personally if I had thought better of it. But again, it's one of those things where it's like, unless you know exactly how to do that, which I don't know how to do that yet, I don't know the exact process of doing it, so I couldn't do a thing where I just like, filled out my thing, whatever the case be, and then sent that in there is what it is. So, but anyway, actually, one thing I wouldn't mind seeing them do with either 189 or 186 for that matter, if they combine them into one bill, if that'd be the case, would be add something to them, which would be about reimbursing people like myself who've had our firearms stolen by criminals and been recovered in the state. If it's like a year, 2 years later, whatever it is, dude. Because the thing is, like, it's been over 2 years now that I've had that stolen, and they still haven't recovered my damn firearm at this point, dude. It's been about 26, almost 27 months now is what it is. And yeah, when you're talking about, something that costs, $600 something to replace, dude, like, it's not like I can just come up with that money out of my ass right now. I pretty much have to sell like blood/plasma and maybe a kidney for that matter to come up with that kind of cash right now. So yeah, it's just a bunch of shit, dude, entirely. So yeah, there really should be a thing where it's like, if the police don't do their job properly and can't find your thing within like a year's time, like, you should be able to file a claim with the state then, and they actually reimburse you through state funds is what it would be then. So anyway, because the thing is, unless that gun is used in a crime at some point and it becomes, as the cops even told me that night, it becomes a murder weapon at that point, that's the only time that then it becomes property of, it's like BCI/state of Ohio. And it's only then is when it'll actually get reimbursed for that firearm is what it is then. So yeah, pretty much I'm out of firearm right now is what it is, dude. And I have no money to replace it. And it's absolute bullshit too, because had it not been for these assholes stealing my shit that day, I would have been able to use that particular gun, that 1522, multiple times now, to go do competition shooting and maybe make some fucking money right there. So these assholes have possibly cost me money multiple times now for the last couple of years, when I could have gone to things, made some inroads with people, met some new friends, had some people join up with a network and stuff like that, help us out, etc. Become our, grassroots campaigners and stuff like that, etc. there. And be able to help us out then, that's the case, dude. But yeah, no, unfortunately, I haven't been able to do that now. And it fucking sucks, dude. It really does. But anyway, I miss that gun so much. Love that gun. I love that rifle because it just ate every kind of 22 is what it was, man. Like, it didn't matter if it was like cheap ass junk, basically, or if it was like the high end stuff. Like, it ate everything equally, pretty much. And even with like the mid grade stuff, it had like, even with the mid grade like bulk stuff, it had like pretty good groupings actually when it was finally like. That's the one thing I did realize with that gun actually. And I have some. See if I can grab one of these plate right there that I used for target practice before. Yeah, sometimes you have them off like that or whatever the case be, but like once that barrel heated up, when I was out there doing like various range testing and stuff, like you could pretty much have like very good groupings. Like we're talking about like quarter to half-inch groupings, honestly. And even sometimes it was almost like through the same hole, depending. So yeah, that gun was fucking awesome, dude. And I would have loved to be able to use that in competition shooting, honestly, dude, for like rimfire, two gun and stuff like that. But unfortunately, again, you know, had it stolen, could never been recovered, and have no idea whatever happened to it is what it is, man. And it sucks, it really does. But anyway, moving on from that, we're going to talk about some left-wing stuff today, though. Couple different stories I want to discuss here. And this is all from the same subreddit, which is True Unpopular Opinions is what they call it here, which I thought were pretty interesting. And there was one that I actually responded to the other day I thought was definitely needed here is what it is. But I'm going to talk about this one first, and then I'll go into the other stuff is what it is there, which I thought was pretty... The one was actually pretty spot on because it was talking about left-wingers and like leftists and stuff like that. Just hating everything that's not leftist, basically. And that's the truth at the end of the day, dude. And again, I talked about this actually after Honda's chat on Sunday night with his buddy Saberwolf, and we were discussing that whole thing about how you basically have like this hive mind mentality of these people, or like non-playable characters, we're going to call it, their NPCs, whatever they are. But yeah, it's basically like, it's just people that have like a small little nugget of brain cell left, but it's not like a full brain function is what it is there. And so they'll all have to come together collectively to have like a one functioning brain, like a couple functioning brains between like, you know, several hundred, several thousand of them is what it is there. And that's the problem right now, because it's why you see these people always go to like the most insane bullshit possible and just be like you'll have them do like really stupid chants, honestly. They're just like very simple minded, really is what it is. Like the whole whose streets are streets stuff or something like that. Or even in like BLM did a couple years back now, when you had them basically admit who they actually defended. And it was I forget which, it was one of the chapters, I believe, in Minneapolis is the one that was saying at the time, but it's pretty much what their motto is across the board, really, is what it is there. The rest of them just don't want to admit is what it is, though. But yeah, you had this one group there in one of the cities there was like, who do we protect? Black criminals. And it's like, of course you do, dude, because you know for a fact that these people that you're protesting for on behalf of, etc., are the scumbags of society who don't give a shit about anything except being a fucking criminal. And so, of course, you're going to protect their dumbasses because you yourselves are also criminals because you're committing a whole bunch of fucking felony level RICO Act stuff under money laundering, various cases there through different GoFundMes, through various other stuff like that. And then you want to sit there and bitch and moan about things and be like, woe is me, I want to play the victim now. And it's like, you're not a victim of anything, dude. You're a fucking hardcore criminal. Which brings me to something else I want to talk about before I get to the whole thing there. Ethan Lyman, his murder. His piece of shit murderers got off yesterday. This white kid was killed by two black males in front of the I Promise school a couple years back now. And yeah, his murderers are now walking free. They were found not guilty yesterday, which is absolute bullshit entirely, because not only should they have been brought up on manslaughter charges, those guys honestly should have had second-degree murder on their asses on that one, dude, because they intentionally killed that kid. And when they want to sit there and claim like, oh no, they didn't intentionally do anything, bullshit, they didn't, dude. When you're literally beating this kid to death outside the fucking school over some stupid bullshit, which, by the way, it wasn't even him using the splatterblug guns, it was his fucking buddies that were doing the shit that then dipped out and left his ass there is what it was, to go, you know, apologize to these guys or whatever the case, because that's what it really was. He was actually trying to apologize to these two guys, and that's when they fucking like beat him in the fucking face and then started stomping his fucking head on the ground is what it was that killed him. And the real problem is the fact that this was with an Akron jury, which, if you know what Akron, Ohio is, dude, these are the same fucking scumbag ass pieces of shit that are going to sit there and cuck for that other fucking ass clown Jalen Walker and be like, oh, we're going to take over the streets of Akron now and then try to sue the cops for fucking macing us in the face and shit like that. And we're doing terroristic shit here is what it is. And yeah, it's a bunch of crap entirely, dude. And that's the problem. And I don't know what the racial makeup of that jury was, dude, but I can only assume it was multiple, non-white races, basically, is what it is. So it's probably like a lot of black, a lot of brown, et cetera, there. Because that's pretty much what the racial makeup of Akron, Ohio is at this point, honestly. Which makes sense why it's a ghetto shithole, honestly. And God forbid, come November, when they have that Seamus Malek guy take over, who is first Islamic motherfucker to be mayor there. Oh, buddy. Oh, it's going to get so much worse underneath that guy's fucking mayoralship, dude. I just, honestly, like, they already have, like, a lot of shooting deaths in that city there. And I just look for that shit to skyrocket even more after his dumb ass takes over here in a couple of months is what it'll be. So, yeah, unfortunately, and this is, again, goes back to what I said before, when it comes to, like, one-horse races in this country, in the state, et cetera, if you have nobody to face off against you in the general election, or even, primary your ass out or whatever it is there, or, have any kind of actual other party for that matter, in any kind of race is what it is, dude, maybe you don't need a mayor for that city. Maybe you don't need a city council in that city, et cetera, dude. Maybe that should just default to, like, the county sheriff or something, Honestly, truthfully, at this point, like, as much of a piece of shit as George Mayer is here as Stark County Sheriff, like, I would almost rather have it default to the sheriff's office, dude, for the ones that are like, basically dealing with the shit there in Akron, because at least then they might be able to do their job properly then. And show, like, hey, now that this is under, like, sort of, I want to say police control, I guess is the way to describe it potentially, or at least, like, sheriff's office control or whatever the case be. Like, maybe you wouldn't have, like, as much fuckery going on with city council and mayors and everything else like that, trying to screw over people and make some stupid ass thing and just piss away taxpayer money and stuff like that. And you may actually have a balanced budget for once, is what it'd be then. So, I don't know, man. It's hard to say. I just know that they could do better, honestly. And the idiots that they're putting in place right now are just the stupidest motherfuckers possible to be in that position of power is what it is. So, but yeah. I'm not the least bit surprised that these assholes were given the fucking go to get off is what it is with nothing, dude. But my only saving grace in that whole thing with Heath Lyman's murder there is what it is that hopefully his parents sue the shit out of the city of Akron, the mayor's office, the city council, etc. for their son's death. Not to mention, if it was up to me personally, if I was that kid's family, I would be bringing 2 big-ass lawsuits on top of all those ones. One against the school, the I Promise school of LeBron James, and one against that piece of shit LeBron James himself, for that matter, because that motherfucker needs to be sued for hundreds of millions of dollars, not billions of dollars right now at this point, dude. So, yeah, I would bring up at least like a $300 million to like $1 billion lawsuit against LeBron James right now if I was that family for the wrongful death of my son. So, anyway, but yeah, that's pretty much where I'm at with the whole thing right now. But hopefully his killers get got, honestly, at some point, dude, which, given the fact that they're the scumbag, dregs of society and stuff like that, I'm sure they're going to piss off somebody here in the next 6 months or so that's just going to blow their fucking head off, honestly. So, one can only assume that will happen at some point here is what it is. But yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if they get got at some point here in the next few months to the end of the year here is what it'll be, maybe next year at some point. So, anyway, it is what it is, though. But yeah, really does get, and as AK Nation News put it last night, it's hood justice what it is, dude. And that's what it was at the end of the day. It was hood justice taking over in that case, and they basically fucking fucked this kid over. And again, it goes back to the black and white hate crimes in this country, and I'm so sick and tired of all of them, dude, is what it is. So, anyway. But moving on from there, and jumping to Reddit here, we had this little winner from 6 days ago. It says, many Republicans don't actually believe anything. They just hate Democrats. And this person continued on and said, I am a conservative in almost every way. But whatever has become of the Republican Party is by no means conservative. That's a fucking lie, by the way. This person doesn't know what conservatism is if it smacked him in the fucking face with a big-ass dick, honestly. But yeah, they said, rather than believe in or be for anything, in almost all my experiences with Republicans, many have no foundation for their beliefs, no solutions for problems, and their defining political stance is being against Democrats. I am sure the Democrat Party is very similar, but I have much more experience with Republicans. They are very happy being against Democrats rather than being for literally anything. It's exhausting. Might not be Might not be unpopular universally, but it certainly is where I live. So my whole thing with that is, and as I responded back to this, well, I tried to respond back to this guy's comment, but unfortunately with that stupid ass subreddit, it's like one of the many other ones that just censor you below thresholds here, so you can never have your voice heard is what it is. What I was trying to say back to this jackass was, not being a spineless sellout is what real conservatism actually is. You've never seen it because you and others have been voting for spineless neocons your entire time, who sold your future and others down the river for a bill of goods. Now that you're starting to see the tide change for the better, it scares the shit out of you. And that's the truth of the matter at the end of the day, dude. It's these people who've never actually seen like what real conservatism is in their lifetimes, because they're voting in like spineless neocon little fuckers like Mitt Romney, etc. there, who are just going to sell them out to China or Russia or any other country for that matter, sell out their future, sell out their kids' future, etc. there, and then bitch and moan about like different things. And by the way, when you talk about people just being against Democrats, dude, like, yeah, I'm sure there's some are, honestly, dude, but I guarantee if you talk with people one-on-one and not just like broad brushed everybody's what it is, they would have like real solutions to problems. Like I've talked about it many times before, dude. Like, am I really Republican at this point? No, I'm not. The entire point is, when you have the state of Ohio not recognizing internet libertarianism, which is what the entire political party I created in 2016 was the Internet Libertarian Party. When we don't have more than two-party systems here, I either have to vote Republican or Democrat in primaries, and it basically fucks me over from actually having my voice really heard is what it is. The third party is what it is there. That being said, if and when I potentially will become governor here in 2026, I would force in a fucking third-party solution thing here is what it is, dude, or really just any party beyond two is what it is there. Because I would become the first sitting internet libertarian governor then is what it is. So, yeah, it would basically force them by default to recognize my political party is what it would be then. So, anyway. But, yeah, that being said, the entire point of the matter is, it's these people that want to sit there and be all like, whatever, dude. And it's like, honestly, like with that person saying that about Republicans, I would say that leans more to what Democrats are, dude. Which is most, Democrat voters at this point are just, I hate Republicans, I hate the right, I hate the fucking right-wing ideology. Ugh. And it's like some super bullshit like that. Meanwhile, they're actively supporting terrorism on their own fucking side of history is what it is, dude. By supporting groups like Antifa, BLM, etc., or at least not calling their asses out on a regular basis is what it is there. Whether it be they're openly giving cash to BLM, whether it be they're openly, joining up with the Antifa and BLM and riots and shit like that throughout 2020 and every other time we've had a political riot in this country in the past 20 years or so, when it's become politically convenient for the Democrats to do shit like that, dude, because of course they want to sit there and steal more elections, what it is there. So, yeah, a bunch of shit, dude. And then, of course, they want to bitch about candidates and stuff like that. It's like, well, put up better candidates then, dude. Seriously. Instead of having some dumb fuck running a whole political platform of like, I want to kill kids in the womb through abortion and I want to take your gun rights away from you. Like, actually put up a real decent candidate, dude, for real. But, of course, you can't do that because the only people on your side are the most hardcore, anti-American pieces of fucking trash at this point that shouldn't even be allowed to hold office in the country at all, dude. They should be automatically disqualified from the running based on the political platforms they're running on. And it's as simple as that, really, honestly. So, anyway. But then, so that one was 6 days ago. This one was 4 days ago. I thought was pretty interesting. And this is actually pretty much spot on here. So we're going to go ahead and read this whole thing. I think this is a different person that said this one, though. It says, many left-wingers don't understand that insulting and demonizing middle America is what fuels the counterculture movement. It's not just that, by the way. It's not just insulting and demonizing. It's the fact that they have actively pushed so fucking hard to basically be child molesters at this point on the left. That's what's basically fueling the counterculture in many cases, dude. It's like, and again, it goes back to that slippery slope mentality that we talked about, for several years now, that basically happened about 20 years or so, give or take, when you started having the whole thing of gay marriage come about and stuff like that. And it's like, oh, we just want gay marriage. And it's like, okay, fine, have gay marriage is what it is, dude. And then from there, it's like, oh, we just want this, we just want that, we just want this, we just want that. And then now it's got to the point where it's like, just let us groom molest your kids, bro. It's like, no, fuck you, dude. Like, there's lines drawn in the sand at some point, buddy. And, like, that's clearly one of them. And you cross that fucking line and you wonder why you get a fucking smack in the mouth, honestly, is what it is. You wonder why you got a big fist coming right at your face, bitch. So, seriously. But no, seriously, man, like that's the problem right now is you have these people who have pushed and pushed and pushed and pushed. And meanwhile, these are the same jackasses that are getting the teaching industry to turn these kids into little mini activists, etc., in schools and stuff like that, dude, in elementary schools, middle schools, etc. And again, these are the individuals that have no fucking business being in the education system in this country entirely, dude. And they also tend to be the same ones, by the way, when you have different states, whether it be Ohio here or other states for that matter, bring up school choice and try to bring in school choice vouchers and stuff like that. They're all like, we're totally against this because it takes X amount of fucking money we can embezzle out of our own fucking pockets, is what it is, dude. Which is the truth, actually. And that was something that Never Know Fame brought up last night, actually, during his chat, was how you have these different school systems like LA and New York and stuff like that are claiming you have to have like $90-something thousand for these kids per year to go to this school system or whatever it is, dude, for public education. And yet, meanwhile, when you actually start breaking it down, it's like a fifth or a sixth of that money. So it's like maybe like 10 grand, 20 grand, something like that, is what's actually going into the actual per child thing. And then there's like $60,000 to $70,000 just unaccounted for is what it is. Because again, when you give people enough things they can embezzle, they will embezzle like a motherfucker, dude. It's exactly what I've talked about the Democrat Party, honestly, quite a bit actually here. When you look at and this is something Make Nation News brought to my attention actually a few months ago, which is when you start looking into these minorities getting into office and various mayoralships across this country and stuff like that, these Democrat hell pockets, whether it be, you know, Akron, Ohio, Columbus, Ohio, Cleveland, Ohio, et cetera, there, which obviously Columbus is not really what you call it because Ginther, I think, is white, if not mistaken. But yeah, you got Biv up there in Cleveland that's black. You got fucking Seamus Malik, who's going to be, you know, Islamic there. You got the dude in Cincinnati that's like Pakistani or whatever the fuck he is there. I'm not even sure. Indian, something like that. But yeah, the whole point is, though, and it's like that across the board, by the way. It happens more, honestly, in like places like various parts of Alabama and stuff like that, where you have black mayors and stuff. But the entire point is, though, dude, it's these black Democrat mayors. It's these, you know, Latino Democrat mayors, whatever it is, dude, like some minority Democrat mayors, what it is there, who will get into office. One of the first things they do after they get into office is figure out a way to raise their own pay up by like $10,000, $20,000 illegally. And then from there, they'll do some bullshit fucking what do you call it? Nepotism stuff, where they will sit there and create bullshit ass fucking positions for family members to steal more money then. And it's like, oh, I'm going to create this, like, you know, Sister Helen fund or whatever it's going to be, seat or whatever the case be. And, oh, Sister Helen, come fill this fucking seat now. And we're going to give you like $50,000 to basically do nothing every year is what it is. And yeah, it's hardcore embezzlement, dude. It's hardcore fucking money laundering is what it is. And the fact that they're not being arrested for this shit is everything wrong with this country, honestly, dude. Because again, you wonder why when you have a surplus of stuff and you got these douchebags getting in office, then why you have no money left at all is what it is. And you're like in crazy ass default then. And you have crazy deficits then when it comes to like negative cash flow is what it is. And again, it's because those people are embezzling fucking money is what it is, dude. And I'm not saying Republicans don't do the same thing, honestly. They just do it to a lesser extent is what it is. That's why I hate both major parties in this country, honestly. And if it was up to me, I'd say we get rid of both of them, honestly, dude, and bring in a whole bunch of new ones is what it is then. So, anyway. You know, that's why I call out the fucking pay-to-play shit going on here in Ohio all the time. I need to bring back the Oathbreaker series one of these days is what it is, though. Haven't done it in a while. But anyway. So, but yeah, continuing on back to that Reddit, though, about the fueling counterculture movement. This person had to edit their post there. It says, I'm not a Republican. Never have been a Republican. I'm not. And more of a both parties have flaws type of person. Insulting me just proves my point. I'm assuming people did that in the last few days is what it is here. But yeah, he started off here. I'm assuming this is a guy. It could be a girl, though. Who knows? But anyway, this person here started off with, right now, being conservative and going against mainstream media as counterculture. People who hear XYZ committed a crime and then immediately think the guy is being framed exists in part because left-wingers have demonized people who live in small towns, are from, quote, flyover states, have slightly right-of-center views, which is what many Americans are at this point, honestly. Like, there's not real, like, I would say truthfully, like, if you look at, like, the whole, like, right-left-center thing, dude, there's more people who are kind of centrist, like, leaning right now, because they see just how psychotic the left wing is what it is right now. How psychotic Democrat Party, how psychotic leftists have become in the last 20, 30 years now in their lifetime is what it is, man. You know, it's one reason why I left the Democrat Party back in 2012, honestly, because it just went fucking insane, dude. And they clearly didn't allow my values what it is there. You know, neither does the right for that matter. But like, again, this is why I created my own thing in 2016. Anywho, going back to what this guy said here, said people are taking a contrarian view of what the mainstream media says about politics, Ukraine, Me Too allegations, etc., because the same media called the geographic majority, but not population majority of the country, dumbasses. Said you also spoke down to people who did not agree with you or fall in line with some god-awful politicians like Barack Obama, Hillary Clinton, etc. So a lot of people just take the contrarian view to piss off the liberals, reclaim some sense of power, and because it's fun, if you aren't allowed to ask questions about something and have to just take what the media says as gospel, then this is what you get. This person said, I used to live in LA, and when I said I was leaving to an area that's not as hip, I got a lot of actual dirty looks from people. Now I am a homeowner with my family, and my hip friends are paying 1,000% more in rent and lamenting that they can't have kids. It may not be a trendy life, but it's a life where people here can actually afford children, have a sense of community, and actually speak to their neighbors and to the people at the grocery store. So the way of life has been demonized and called all types of names, but it's how many people have lived. In fact, many diverse people of color live like this in their home countries. Somehow, it's only bad when certain people do it, though, meaning obviously white flight is what they're talking about there on that one. Said, I live in a slightly more conservative area, but most people here have the same struggles and desires as the big city. However, since they have been demonized as all types of trash, they just go against the media to feel empowered and say screw you to the elites that demonize them the whole time. Which is very true, honestly, dude, and that's the whole point entirely. Yeah, and then of course you got people basically shit talking this guy. And that's really what it is, dude. It's like people just trying to like do whatever then, and then and again it's like, and that's the saddest part, dude. Like even when you try to call this shit out, in many cases, like you can't even call it out with like out being considered to be a racist or whatever the case be. It's like I said last year, honestly, dude, about the whole diversity thing. I misspoke on that one, but the entire point is it actually rung true. Is the sad part of it all, dude. Because when you actually look at it, dude, who's being taken over at this in this time period right now? It's every what would be considered white majority nation of the Western world right now that allows it is being taken over by economic migration right now. Whether it be America through open borders right now, through people that are illegal from, Mexico, El Salvador, Honduras, Guatemala, Venezuela, et cetera, there. Or in most cases now, it's basically Chinese foreign nationals coming in now. Or it's people from African nations coming over, being flown over through Soros NGOs and stuff like that, being brought up through the Panama Canal and shit like that, and mass-ass caravans is what it is, dude, and then bringing in all kinds of fucked diseases from those countries, what it is there, man. And that's the thing, right? Like, I have no problem if you want to flee if you want to actually better yourself. Like, if you here's my thing, right? I have no problem with people who are actual refugees, is what it is, man. But the thing is, there is a huge threshold for being a refugee, is what it is, in my opinion, which is basically you are, like, first off, you must be fleeing some kind of political persecution for that matter. Whether that be you're a Christian Islamic nation that's going to be killed if you continue to live in that place, or some such thing like that, or whatever the case be. Like maybe then you can seek asylum elsewhere, is what it is, dude. But yeah, if it's not something like that where you're like under threat of death and stuff like that, you're just coming here to like fuck up somebody else's country because you want to, for a fact that you can basically get on fucking free handouts, is what it is. No, fuck you, dude. Our fucking shit's full up already. Go fuck yourself. Go back to your shithole of origin and never fucking come here, is what it is, dude. Borders closed, fuckers. Period. And that's what our stance needs to be here in America, honestly, dude, for real. And if you try to come here and you fucking come to our borders, dude, guess what? We're going to declare it a fucking invasion, and we're going to treat it as such, is what it is, dude. We're going to declare it an act of war, is what it is there then. And you will have military on the fucking board at that point then, motherfuckers. Which is what you're doing right now, honestly, truthfully speaking. So, anyway. But yeah, you have that stuff going on there. You got Canada being invaded by Islam like crazy as well. Same thing with America here, where we have Islamic terrorism coming in our country, invented people like that. Can't be problem with that is too entirely is these Islamic people that are claiming asylum or claiming refugee status or whatever the case be, dude. They can never be properly vetted. Why the fuck would you let them into our country, dude, when their ideology is not going to align with our fucking morals is what it is, dude. You know, you don't drop a fucking shark into a tank full of fish and then think there's going to be fish the next 3 days. Or you come back 3 days later and you're like, what happened to all the fish? That shark looks pretty fat right now. That's exactly what Islam actually is, dude. Islam is the shark being dropped into a fucking fish bowl. And then you wonder why you have no more fish after that, dude. Hell, I remember, like, what was it, like 5-10 years ago now? Or more even, for that matter? I'm trying to think. I want to say it was during Obama's administration, actually. So it was like 2014 or so, give or take. Maybe 2015, someplace in there. So it was like 8-10 years ago, something like that. It was down in Texas. It was some part of Texas where you had a bunch of Islamic terrorists down there literally doing a fucking march in favor of Sharia law taking over for the U.S. Constitution. Why the fuck was there not a mass booting out of this fucking country, these people, at that time, dude? There should have been cops everywhere arresting these motherfuckers and putting them on a damn plane back to their country of origin right then and there, honestly, dude. Be like, no, fuck you, get the fuck out of our country, assholes. So, anyway. But yeah, it's just fucking annoying beyond belief, honestly, dude. We all see what's happening. And the ones that speak out about it again, you know, they call us racist, they call us homophobic, sexist, whatever the case be. It doesn't really matter, honestly. I give a fuck, honestly, dude. Again, I made my stance clear a year ago. People took fault with it. People still take fault with it. Apparently, according to what Night Strike told me the other day when I was talking to a few people in Discord there, is that guns and barbecue still has a problem with me. And guess what? I still have a problem with you, John. For trying to literally fucking fuck with my life enough to where I almost wasn't on this earth anymore, dude. And giving that little bitch Baron fucking mod status on your stupid channel so that you can sit there and share dumbass fucking videos that illegally took my shit, by the way, without my consent, which is exactly why I got his ass channel strike then for that whole thing, because again, it's not fair use, dumbasses, when the shit, first of all, didn't exist at that point, and then secondly, you're using it to try to slander and defame my ass and falsely claim that I'm a fucking child molester and stuff like that when I'm simply calling out child molesters in our fucking teaching industry, assholes. That's the problem I have, by the way. I have a problem with a bunch of sickos teaching my 9-year-old fucking niece, bro. And for that same matter, my 16-year-old nephew. I don't need some sicko going after my fucking family, you pieces of shit. That's the fucking issues I have with these people in our teaching industry, dude, entirely. When you're grooming kids, I'm not going to sit there and idly stand by while you try to groom my fucking niece, dude. Period. So, anyway. And yeah, you're damn right that gets me fucking furrowed up, dude. That's fighting words right there to me, honestly, man. Try to fuck with my family, try to fuck with my kin. I'll fight you in the damn streets or anything else for that matter. Anyway, going back to the last thing we talked about today here, it said corporate America wants women to be single and childless. Exactly, to this whole point entirely. Well, the real problem is, and we've talked about this quite a bit, actually. I'm just going to go on the headline for that for a minute, and then we'll talk about the rest of it here in a few minutes, is what it is. So the real problem with corporate America in general is, dude, is you have the whole workforce thing happen back in, what was it, like the 60s, 70s? You know, modern revolution time is what it is. I think it was 60s, actually, when it really happened, where you had, like, basically the whole thing where women got the right to go out there and work and stuff like that, and you basically doubled the workforce, and then you have the pay is what it was in most cases, and now we've even gone way further than that now, because again, when you start adding in illegal immigration in this country like crazy, and you got people undercutting our current wages because they're bringing in a bunch of people, and hell, Biden even admitted the other day when he was talking about it on something about giving all these fucking Venezuelans, whatever it was, a bunch of like permanent visas, pretty much is what it was. He called it temporary, but let's be honest with ourselves, dude, it's going to be permanent, 100%. And yeah, they're trying to import a voter base, first of all, voter base and work base for that matter. They want to import a work base that also is given voter rights in this country to fuck over our voting rights, by the way, as American citizens, so they can keep stealing elections and keeping themselves in the power is what it is there. And basically doing their great reset eventually is what it is here in this country. To completely fuck us all is what it is there. But yeah, the entire point is, though, is you have people coming into this country who are undercutting our labor market and our wages because they're like, oh, well, I'll come in here and do it for, you know, like that person wants like 15 or 20 bucks because that's what they have to actually, you know, some of it has to be paid out in taxes, and they actually have to take a paycheck that can actually sustain them and be a living wage, oh, I'll just do it for $10 on the fucking table, dude. And then what's that $10 going to be per hour? It's going to be sent right back to their fucking home country, dude. Which is what we've seen many times over and over again. And truthfully, honestly, if we were smart as a nation right now, because a lot of these people, what they'll do is they'll use places like Western Union to send that money back through mail orders and stuff like that. We would actually charge these fucking these companies right now, dude, and be like, no, you cannot do international stuff like that, dude. You cannot do international money transfers anymore in this country. And if they try to, guess what? Freezed and seized. All the assets get freezed and seized and taken and put back to the American taxpayers. What it is then, dude. In some kind of a like taxpayer like slush fund, I guess is what I'd say best. Where you can basically make a claim as what it is then as a U.S. citizen is what it would be then to take some of that money back out then for yourself. So anyway, but yeah, the entire point of it is though, is you have, you know, back in that time period, about 60, 70 years ago now, you had us go from single family fathers, you know, where it was father, mother, 3, 4 kids, whatever it was, maybe 5, 6, 7 kids, depending. You know, mom was a stay-at-home parent. She actually, you know, interacted with the kids on a regular basis, was a good parent to those kids at home. You had dad out there working his ass off 40, 50 hours a week. You know, some factory job usually is what it was. You know, no college education, by the way, at that time. For the most part, he would basically walk out of high school and walk right into a factory for the next 30, 40 years of his life is what it was. And it was a good paying job. You could afford it. You could afford a family on that one. You know, like I said, several kids, even maybe half a dozen or so kids there. And you had, you know, a decent house, maybe 1 car, maybe 2 car deal there. You know, you were living the American dream at the time. And then, of course, you had them bring in the whole doubling the labor market with women being able to go work and stuff like that. They halved the wages at the time then because of that. So you basically have both parents work now. And it was at that time where you had the state basically take over at the time then. And you had, you know, school become a whole thing. And that's sort of when the indoctrination really started in this country, was in the 70s and 80s and stuff like that. When you had these Marxists who admitted back in the day that they were the ones taking over and committing like basically rules for radical shit in the school systems back then is what it was. Now, granted, it wasn't as overtly in your face as it is now, because they just tried to slip it in there here and there is what it was. Most of the time, it wasn't really activists pretending to be teachers back then. It was mostly actually teachers back then who, you know, wanted to give the kids a good leg up and stuff like that. The problem was, it wasn't really them giving us a leg up entirely, because if they were going to give us a leg up, what we would be taught in schools is different things, like an actual, you know, economic course or something like that, where it's like, here's how you balance a checkbook, here's how you change a tire, et cetera, like various stuff like that, like life skills courses, what I want to talk about on that one, dude, which is, by the way, when I am going to try to run for office here, is going to be one of the things I plan on running for office under, actually, on my platform there, which is putting life skills courses into every school in the state of Ohio as governor here. So yeah, and we should be teaching these kids things like that, dude. How to balance a checkbook, how to change tires, et cetera. You know, how to cook a meal, for God's sakes. Because there are so many of these people who don't know how to do that, for that matter. So anyway, but the entire point of the matter is, though, is you had this change happen where you then had these latchkey kids in most cases. You know, they came home 3, 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Mom and dad were still at work until 5 or 6 or whatever it was. Maybe the kid had to put a casserole or something in the oven for dinner that night. And it became a whole thing then. And then since then, it's gotten even worse now, because now you have all these, you know, government continue to step in the 70s and stuff like that and start bringing in the welfare system and stuff like that, incentivizing women to be single mother households now. And of course, you know, you've had that explosion for the last 40, 50 years now is what it is, where you've had this happen like crazy, and you have these chicks that will specifically realize like, oh, I can do generational welfare now. And so they'll sit there and realize like, oh, I can only have a kid up to like 3 years old before my benefits get cut off. Okay, I'll just have another kid every 3 to 4 years is what it is then. And that's what it is. They'll keep popping out a kid every couple years is what it is. Usually with their baby daddy, by the way, for that matter. You have, you know, a woman with like 10 kids that have 10 different fathers is what it is there. And she's on welfare for life is what it is there, unfortunately. And the problem with that whole thing is, dude, is not only you incentivizing basically criminality on that one, because it's those same people who are going to then turn around in our society and become, you know, from the fatherless homes, because the father's nowhere to be found is what it is, dude. They're going to become young gangbangers and stuff out there. And so you're basically creating this revolving door of criminals now is what it is with that kind of stuff, dude. Because you're incentivizing single mother welfare queens is what it really is, honestly, dude. And the worst thing is, sometimes it's welfare queens and kings, for that matter, dude. When you got both parents in a household somehow, but they're both on fucking food stamps and stuff like that and taking benefits from the state, dude. Like, how the hell does that even work? I don't know, but like, yeah, it's they'll sit there and they'll get fucking 2 EBT cards every month, and you'll have them go. And usually it's like the 1st and 15th of every month is when they do the balances and stuff on those things. So if you ever go to like a Walmart or something on the 1st or the 15th of the month, dude, and you see a bunch of people with like full cartloads of shit, and then they start swiping cards and stuff, just assume they're using EBT at that point, man, because that's usually what it is at the end of the day. And the worst thing is, these are the people that will sit there and spend, you know, they'll get like $300, $400, $500 or whatever it is in the cards there, depending on family size and stuff like that. They'll spend it all in one shot on like just a bunch of stupid shit, dude. In many cases, just a bunch of junk food, and that, for that matter, that they'll be through in like 1 or 2 weeks is what it is. And then they'll be all like, oh, I don't understand why I can't feed my family for the rest of the month, and then try to rely on food banks and shit to get more food then. And it's like, because you're not budgeting, because you're stupid and you don't want to actually do a proper budget to realize, hey, this is how much something costs here. Maybe we can't afford that, you know, second bag of Oreos. Maybe we should buy some fucking fresh fruit or something, for God's sakes. Maybe we should get some other things on this whole thing so we can grow a small garden in our backyard or something like that and be self-sufficient to some extent. You know, something. I mean, Jesus Christ, you know. But anyway, it is what it is. But yeah, the whole problem is, though, corporate America has done that, though. And it's basically, they've given this, it's mixed corporate America and mainstream media actually have given women this false impression that they can basically have their cake and eat it too, which is they can have a family and have a career and everything else like that. The problem is that they don't tell them that, yes, you can have these things, you just cannot have them all at the same time. And if you're going to do the family thing, you need to do it while you're still young, like 19, 20, 21, 22, 23 years old, have kids, you know, up to like maybe like 25 to 30, give or take. And then from there, you know, let the kids go off to school, you know, 4, 5, 6 years old or whatever the case be, and then go out and get a job when those kids are in, you know, kindergarten, elementary school for that matter. And then you can actually go work and still have a fucking family and stuff like that, dude. But that's the problem. So many of these chicks are like, no, I want to have my career at like 20, 25 years old. And then they wonder why the time they're like 40 or 50 or whatever it is, and they're all childless and shit, and they're all depressed and everything else like that. And they're just like, my life fucking sucks. It's like, yeah, it does, because you were stupid and you fucked around, and then you tried to fuck over a next generation after you, is what it is. And that's the problem with these stupid cunts like Chelsea Handler, dude. She'll sit there and be all like, oh, I'm going to go drink a bunch of wine and then take a nap and everything else like that. And it's like, I'm going to incentivize the next generation of young girls to do the same fucking thing. And it's just this generational retardation is what it is, dude. Oh, really? Louisiana, I'm back on board with constitutional carry. Interesting. Yeah. I assume what they're talking about is after the election here in November, because that's when they're getting a new governor then. I don't know, though. That's the thing, though, because technically that governor wouldn't be sworn in until 2024, though. So it would be the beginning of 2024 probably is when they would actually do constitutional carry again in their General Assembly is what I'm guessing, honestly. But yeah, that's how it needs to be, man. I'm trying to think where we're at right now. It's at 28 or 29 now I'm thinking about it. I'm physically trying to remember now, because I know Ohio was 23. And we had 24, 25, 26, 27. I feel like Florida was either 28 or 29 now. So yeah, that would either be 29 or 30 then if Louisiana would get it then. So anyway. But yeah, so going back to what I was reading here though with the corporate America thing. Yeah, it was corporate America wants women to be single and childless, which by the way actually does go back to what who was it now? Kristen the chick that played Veronica Mars. I can't remember her name is offhand. She's married to that Dax Shepard guy though. She was talking about different things, and it was basically her going on this whole tirade about they were going to get, it was after the Roe versus Wade got overturned thing. And she was like, oh, I'm going to give these chicks a free money to go get an abortion and stuff that work for me. And mind you, she had a fucking baby care business. Like, how hypocritically disgusting is that, dude? Where you're literally making products for children, for newborns, And yet you're telling the people that work for you to go have fucking abortions. Like, you are demonic at that point, bitch. Seriously. Fucking disgusting asshole. I honestly hope that her and her husband go bankrupt at this point, dude, for real. Because there was talk of them possibly having that happen to them a few months ago during the writer strike stuff. And I hope it does honestly happen right now. So, anyway. But, yeah, so this person said, can't help feeling like the push for women to view being lonely and isolated as empowerment is largely because of corporate interest. By 2030, they say 45% of women will be childless and not have families. That is a scary ass situation. Dude, that is fucking scary as fuck right now. So 45% of women, so that's almost half of chicks, will not have families or children. That is fucking nuts, dude. And this person taking on said, one look at the propaganda on TikTok and Twitter, and you can see where they get this prediction from. The view of, quote, marriage as slavery is trending, and more young women are liking and sharing these videos. This person said, I'm 40 years old, married, and have a kid. Can tell you that the people who I know that stayed single and don't have kids are way more depressed than my friends who do have children. Of course they are, dude, because again, it's something where you want to have a kid, or you want to have, like, you know, something there is what it is, to fill a void in your life. And I've talked about that before myself, honestly, dude. As someone who is 30 years old right now and a man, I want to be a father in my life, you know? I want to be a father to kids is what it is, dude. And whether that be me finding some chick and being a stepfather to her child or her children, or whatever the case be, or in most cases, what I really want is to find some woman who I have my own biological children with, is what it is there. And the thing of it is, it's like, you know, I am to a point right now where I know I've had loneliness in my life, dude. And again, it's because I don't have a family there. I don't have, you know, my own generation down from me, dude. You know, my own offspring, etc. there. And I can only imagine what it is like for some of these women, honestly, dude. Because they know that their eggs are all dried up now and stuff like that. They know they're not going to have a chance to ever have a kid, is what it is there, or multiple children for that matter, because they didn't have kids younger in life. And then they get all depressed and stuff like that, and they become like bitter old women, is what it is in many cases. They become the crazy cat ladies and stuff like that. It's like it's when they had those pussy hat marches a few years ago for the whole Me Too thing, like 4 or 5 years back now, whatever it was, 2018, 2019, what's in there. And it was just like these rabid, crazy bitches is what it was. And it was because of the fact that they were just psychotic lunatics is what it is. In most cases, it was because they didn't have kids is what it was, dude. Because maybe that child or those children would have balanced them out is what it is, man. I also want to point something out, that whole thing people don't know. Every day, we actually take in various levels of various toxicity from different chemicals that we're ingesting, whether it be through water or food or wherever the case be. When a woman has a child, she actually dumps those chemicals out into that kid. That's why you see a lot of firstborn kids that end up having various issues, whether it be autism, Asperger, et cetera, there, or the various health issues and stuff like that. It's because she's dumping out like the majority of those toxins into that first child is what it is. And then, of course, through, you know, various other kids that she would have, it's less and less with like child 2, 3, 4, et cetera, there. The entire point is, though, when you have these women not having kids at all, that shit just builds up in their system. And I've actually seen this before, and it was something I think it was Natural News talked about it before, actually, where it was, you'll have these old women that are in their, you know, 50s, 60s, 70s, et cetera, there, or I should say older women into old women is what it is there, who, you know, 60s, 70s or so, give or take, they'll break a bone, arm, hip, whatever it is there, and they'll just get like real bitter is what it is. And you wonder why. And it's because their bloodstream is actually leaching like mercury and shit into their system is what it is there. Whenever they break that bone, it's like their bone marrow is what it is like leaching out various toxins into their bloodstream is what it is there, like mercury, et cetera, there. And it's basically causing them to go like full mad hatter is what it is there. And it's just crazy, dude. And it's sad too at the same time, because it's like, yeah, there's nothing you really do about it unless you would have like some kind of like actual like cleanse where you try to cleanse these chemicals out of your body naturally is what it would be then. There's some kind of like juicing cleanse or something else for that matter is what it is then. So Anywho, but yeah, the whole point is though is like you have these chicks that just become bitter, depressed, etc., and then they put themselves on SSRIs like Xanax, Zoloft, etc. There, so you got Xanax and Zoloft, and any kind of other serotonin reuptake inhibitor thing is what it is there. And you wonder why they're so psychotic, dude. It's because again, they're mentally just depressed and saddened because they have a void in their life that could easily be filled if they were a mother. And the saddest part is these are the same people that when you're like, hey, why don't you just go out there and adopt a kid or whatever the case be, they'll be like, well, I live in a 1-bedroom apartment or some shit like that. And it's like, again, you could move to someplace else, maybe have a smaller home or something like that, maybe a 2-bedroom house or whatever the case be, and go adopt a kid and be a great mother to that child, honestly, in many cases. But you're choosing not to. And that's the problem right there entirely. So, anyway. But yeah, continuing on with the rest of this, then we're going to finish this up here in a couple minutes, and then we're going to head out. Let's see where was that now. Yeah, this person said they're 40 years old, married, have a kid. All their friends who are single, stayed single, don't have kids, are way more depressed than people who are or do have kids. Said that does go for both men and women, I know. But on the flip side, this also makes them better workers because they're more available to meet employer demands. They don't have to leave early to pick up their kids or come in late because their doctor's appointments or take less sick days, etc. In addition to this, people with kids will always put the need of their families ahead of anything else, and corporate America knows this. See, that's the problem, though. Like what she said right there about, I'm assuming this is a chick at this point. What this person said right there, though, about putting the needs of their family in front of corporate America and stuff like that, that's the problem, though, because there's a lot of times where you can't do that. I remember many times when my mother got fucked over. By the way, for those who don't know, she worked at Walmart for almost 20 years in the cake decorating department there. First of all, the Waltners can go fuck themselves, dude. They actually owe my mother over $300,000 in overtime pay at this point that she's never going to see a dime of. And I'm to the point where I'm just going to sue these fucking people at some point in my lifetime, honestly, dude, for that shit. Because it's bullshit. They cut her overtime so many times, dude. And they fucked her out of several $100,000 in overtime pay is what it is there, man. Yet, meanwhile, they were like, oh, we're going to, instead of putting her on a basic shift, by the way, where it was like 9 to 5 or, 10 to 7, whatever it was there. Because there was various times. It was like, sometimes it was like 5 to 2 or, 7 to 4 or 9 to 6 or something like that. Or like 10 to 7, something like that is what it is. No, they would put her on these crazy swing shifts. So she would have to come home after working until 8 o'clock that night. She came home at 9 o'clock that night and had to be back in there at fucking 5 a.m. the next morning. And that was all the time they did that shit to her. And God forbid that she wanted to get off to go hang out with our family and have an actual fucking, fun time with extended family here is what it was. Oh no, sorry, Rose, you gotta come in and fucking work for us again now. Oh, and if you call off, we're gonna fire you. That's what I fucking hate about corporate America, dude. They fucked over and meanwhile, for the Waltners to sit there and falsely claim we give a shit about families. No, you fucking don't, you fucking cunts. If you did, you would have given my mother the time off she needed when we were younger kids and we were in our teenage years and our formidable years to actually have her in our lives and be able to hang out with our fucking family in various vacation times and stuff like that, instead of being like, oh no, sorry, you can't take vacation anytime in the next like 3 to 4 weeks now is what it is. No, fuck you, dude. I'm taking that shit anyway. Honestly, the worst thing I look back on right now, and the only reason I didn't do it at the time is because she was still working there. I should have sued the fuck out of those people for wrongful termination when they fired my ass. Because they definitely wrongfully terminated me, dude. And I had a medical condition at the time that actually was a whole thing with the psoriasis and stuff like that, where it was like crazy skin flakies on my arm is what it was there. And yeah, dude, I could have definitely filed a medical claim against their asses on that one and probably taken their ass to the cleaners for several $1 million, if not more for that matter. And I should have, honestly, looking back on it. And it's one of the 4 or 5 times in my life that I didn't get a massive payout from somebody in corporate America is what it was, dude. So, anyway. But anyway, continuing back on what this person said about putting the needs of their kids before corporate America. It said if women purposefully choose to not date, get married, or by extension not have kids, this will isolate both men and women and thus eliminate more distractions from them, both being good little worker bees. Said, I know a lot of people these days view having a family as a chore, but I can tell you, as someone who has never thought I wanted to have kids, that it is by far the most rewarding part of the human experience. So much for the superficial bullshit and worries you have gets lifted, and strong sense of purpose and understanding comes from the responsibility of having a child, and the confidence boost that comes from the second your child opens their eyes and looks at you is something a lot of people don't talk about, especially in an age where everybody is on antidepressants. I'm glad they brought that up actually, because like I said earlier, I brought that to myself. Said I'm sure pharmaceutical companies are more than ecstatic that half the population is choosing to be isolated from the other half. If you read this far, I thank you. And if you disagree with me and read this far, I really appreciate you hearing me out. Yeah, good on that person, man. Let's see what this idiot top here says. It said, almost every one of my female coworkers, engineers, wants children, but is concerned about being able to afford them, but both independently and or with working parents in STEM fields. Obstacle to the falling birth rate among my friends and coworkers is the economy, cost of living, cost of childcare, and affordable housing crisis, where competitive jobs are. Decent houses are $750,000 in my area, built in the 1950s, 1980s. Jesus Christ, dude. That continue on. So my partner and I are both frugal spenders and working engineers. I'd have a baby tomorrow if I could afford it and give the child the stability it deserves. See, this is the problem I have right there. So you're talking about these people that are engineers and stuff like that, and this bitch being like, "Oh, we can't afford a kid though." Nah, fuck that, dude. You know how many fucking poor ass motherfuckers are in this country right now, outbreeding us, who aren't even legally allowed to be here right now, dude? But yet they're all somehow allowed to take money out of our fucking systems through EBT, through cash assistance, etc., benefit programs and stuff, dude. No. You have those kids, you outbreed those motherfuckers, and you get yourself on that fucking welfare system, bitch. And I mean that seriously, dude. Like, I say that to all Americans at this point, dude, for real. Like, if you know you can't afford a kid, but like you could if you were on like welfare assistance programs and stuff like that, dude, like, nah, fuck it. Have kids and start outbreeding these fucking illegals in our country, dude. That's how we get one back at this point. And then from there, we start incentivizing families through tax credits and stuff like that, and being able to do things the right way then, and actually being able to afford kids when we actually have decent pay of living is what it is, man. And we actually have cost of living increases and stuff like that throughout the time. And meanwhile, at the same time, if nothing else, if you want to be that, mother of a kid, 2 kids, 3 kids, whatever it is, dude, you go out there and you have those kids, and then you run for office on that fact that you are a family unit and you actually give a shit about family first is what it is. Because I guarantee you, there's going to be a lot more people willing to vote for some chick who wants a kid or has multiple kids for that matter with the same man and is an actual together family, actual family unit in this country. Traditional family basis is what I'm talking about there. And be able to then afford those kids properly then. Because that's the problem right now. And even talking about like childcare, dude, like you shouldn't need childcare because again, you should be able to afford a kid on a one income household is what it is. And the fact that we can't is absolute bullshit, dude. And the fact you're saying that there's houses going for like $750,000 in your area, dude. I don't know. Move to a different area that doesn't cost a fucking arm and a leg to live there is what it is, man. And the thing is, it's not really housing market crunch per se. It's again, it goes back to what I've talked about before. When we have open border systems in this country, and you have these illegals coming in like crazy and stealing our fucking houses and stuff like that. You have BlackRock, Vanguard, etc., all these Chinese fucking firms like that, stealing our shit like that too, for that matter, because they're coming in here and buying up our fucking various homes and stuff, dude. Hell, there are. I heard this a couple weeks ago. Actually, it was one of these. I think it was YouTube Short, if I'm not mistaken, where it was somebody talking about how there is multiple entire neighborhoods in various places in Illinois right now that have been bought up by Vanguard, BlackRock, etc. They're just sitting there empty, dude. And you're talking about mini mansion style homes that have nobody living in them at all. And it's just degrading every single day because it's not being taken care of properly. And why are they doing this? Because shocker, they want to implement 15-minute cities by 2030. They want us all in these fucked up little bullshit ass fucking Judge Dredd style mega city 1 type of places, dude. They want us in mega blocks that are like 500 fucking units high is what it is. 500 floors high, 600 floors high, 1,000 floors high, whatever it is, dude. 10 million units per fucking place is what it is there. And then that's how you end up with peach trees, brother. And you got some crazy bitch trying to get everybody on the drugs. And then we got Judge, Jury, Executioners then, because we got literally fucking Judge Dredd style dystopian apocalyptic scenario in place then. So, by the way, for those who never saw Dredd, that was a great fucking movie, dude. I wish they would have made a sequel to that one, because Carl Urban was a great Judge Dredd, honestly. But it never happened. Honestly, what should have happened is that movie should have spun off into a TV series, is what it is. And it should have been like a 2 or 3 season TV series then. Unfortunately, it didn't happen though. But we did get The Boys though, so there's that. Oi, cunt! Fucking love that show. I can't wait for that to come back. I think, if I'm not mistaken, it's supposed to be. I want to say it's this weekend actually, is when that spin-off Gen V starts up then. So I have to check that one out and see if it's any good or not. But anyway. Yeah, the thing is though, it's like it depends, man, because like eventually you're gonna get to a point where you might be that stern father, you might be the father that rules with kind of like the iron fist, is what it is. And I've seen that personally through some of my own friends and stuff like that have kids, where you'd have the mom there, she would get, she would usually be like the good cop in most cases, and then dad would be the bad cop and stuff, is what it is. And there were some times where they both had to be bad cop on these kids, man. Where the one was like, yeah, do your homework, whatever the case be, the kid's not doing their homework, and then my buddy who was the father was like, son, your mom told you to do your homework, do your fucking homework. Kind of thing. So it was pretty good. But yeah, I miss them people. They were my old neighbors down there that moved away now. They're actually building their house now, which hopefully it'll be built by the end of the year, and we're gonna have an actual. They said they're gonna have us for a home housewarming party there, or whatever the case be, at some point down the line. So I'll probably take them a piece of Tupperware or something if that be the case. Then later on, I still got some stuff laying around that I could give to them, so I might just do that then if that be the case. I don't think they have a veggie dish thing, so I might just give that to them if that be the case then. So anyway, but yeah, they're good people, and I've met some people like that before that have to go that route, is what it is though. So again, it really depends. Like, you might be a terrible father, but like if you have a kid, then who's to say, you might not be the best father for that matter. So actually, there was one I was looking at the other day that I thought was pretty interesting, and I'm trying to think where it's at now. I can't remember if it's on my phone or if it's on my computer right now. I think it is on my phone now that I'm thinking about it, actually. Let me go see real quick. Because it was talking about the difference between like home, like how, like traditional families, and then like when you start adding stuff like abortion and whatnot into it here, and then it becomes like a whole fucked up mess then, is what it is. So I'm going to try to look through this real quick, and I'll pull it up if I can find it real fast here. It was a political meme of some kind. I'm not sure exactly where I found it on, but I remember getting it on. I think it's on my phone here. So let me just check this real quick, and then we'll finish up discussing with that kind of thing, is what it is then. Come on, load. Okay, let's see. I think it's photos. Is it photos? Okay, yeah, so this should be over here. Okay, let's see here now. Here it is. Okay. Yeah, trying to see who actually did this now. Okay, I'm gonna see if I can find this on Reddit now that I'm thinking about it, because I know it was on there through the R facepalm one then. So I'm gonna go and try and grab that, because it's like a month and a half ago when I found that or so. Let's see here now. Let's see, face palm American family. There you go. Found it. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and share this then. I think this is pretty relevant too, by the way. All right, so you got the American family. American family. So you got dad, mom, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 kids. And then you got the American family plus contraception, aka condoms, birth control, etc. It's now 2 kids, so it's the kid in the red shirt and the baby. Now you got plus abortion. Now it's just the kid in the red shirt. Now you got plus divorce, it's just dad and the kid. Now you got plus gay marriage, so it's 2 dads and the kid. Equals confusion. The kid saying, I think I'm a girl. And it's so fucking true. It's so fucking true, dude. Although the thing is, though, I would actually add the confusion thing where it's the kid saying, I think I'm a girl. And it's the dad saying, that's okay, son, we are too, or something. So, because truth be told, like, that's pretty much what it would lead to, man. It would lead to some crazy shit like that, honestly. So, anyway. But nah, seriously, though, it's just, it is fucking nuts, dude. And that's the sad part, though. You know, I remember back in my mom's generation, you know, she was one of 7 kids. Like, my grandmother had her and 6 other children at different times. And if I'm not mistaken, I believe we were told, she found out recently that my grandmother actually had 2 miscarriages. So she should have 9 kids, actually. And that's the thing, right? Like, you would have a bunch of kids back then because you would have to have a bunch of kids back then because you didn't have contraception or birth control, whatever the case be. And it was better for society, dude, because again, you had these big ass families, 7, 8, 9, 10 kids, 12 kids, whatever it was. You know, if you go back even further than that, because she was obviously 1940s when she was born there. But yeah, if you go back to like the 1800s and stuff like that, you had to have a bunch of kids like that just because some of them would die off through various diseases, whether it be smallpox or, you know, hell, you had like bear attacks back then, wolf attacks back then. You would have a kid get fucking attacked by a wolf or a bear or a pack of wolves or whatever it was there. Or, you know, God forbid they're doing something on the, what was I going to say? Doing something on the farm there, whatever the case be. They end up breaking their leg and shit. And then the leg gets all sepsis and stuff like that because they didn't have proper antibiotics back in them days. And they would die off from that kind of stuff is what it is. Or, you know, actually there was a good episode of Little House on the Prairie I was watching recently, actually, from back in the day. And it was I'm trying to think if it was smallpox that these animals had. I think that's what it was. I think it was some kind of smallpox the animals had. And it was basically you had these dudes killing off a couple sheep in the herd or whatever the case be that were like smallpox infected. So the meat was like smallpox infected or whatever it was there. And yet they were going around selling it off to people in the town. And of course, got everybody else sick. That's what it was. And it would hit the kids most of all. And yeah, you almost had a bunch of kids die from it, is what it was there. And in some cases, you do have a bunch of kids die from the shit, is what it was there. So, and that's the thing, man. And you had entire bloodlines wiped out like that, is what it was back in those days. Because unfortunately, that, you know, father and mother only had that 1 or 2 kids, is what it was then, or whatever. And that's the thing, man. That's why you had to have a bunch of kids, because you had to have some survive, is what it was, for the next generation, next generation, next generation. And then again, it goes, you know, like I said before, mom's family was 1 of 7. I was 1 of only 3. And I was a surprise baby, by the way, for that matter. She didn't know she was pregnant with me at the time when she went to her doctors. And that doctor really insulted her, actually, because they're like, oh, all these fat women coming in here thinking they're always pregnant. And it turned out she was like legit like 4.5 months pregnant with me at the time. So, and yeah, her OBGYN then got really pissed at her for not being on prenatal vitamins because she didn't know she was pregnant enough with me, is what it was. So, anyway. That's also a bad choice too, for that matter, because no, even for me right now at 38, I heard something recently, and this was like, when I say recently, I'm talking about the last few years here, that if you have kids over, I think it's the age of 40 or something, especially if you're a guy and stuff, it's something to do with your the way your sperm works and stuff like that. It actually fucks up the kid, and they're actually more susceptible to like other diseases and stuff like that later on. Like they're having like asthma and stuff like that, as it would be then, and like various like health issues like that, is what it is, being born with that kind of stuff. So you're better off having them in your 20s and 30s, is what it is at the latest. I'm not saying I'm going to justify teenage pregnancy by any means, but yeah, I mean, hell, back in the day we had to back then because you had, these kids that would have to be married off at 13, 14, 15 years old and stuff like that because they would be dead by the time they're 35, honestly, because that was just life expectancy back in those days. Because again, didn't have antibiotics back then, didn't have various vital medicine that would keep us alive nowadays. And that's why you got people in their 90s up to 100 something years old now being on all kinds of medications every single day to keep them alive another day is what it is. Yet meanwhile, if our entire group went down tomorrow and didn't have the medications to rely on, dude, they'd all be dead in a couple of days is what it'd be. It's just like the whole shutdowns of 2020, you fucked over the youngest generation of kids to support the oldest generation of motherfuckers. And it's like, what the hell kind of nonsense is that, dude, for real? It's just some stupid ass bullshit is what that was. So, I don't know. Shit's just nuts. But anyway, that's about it for today, though. We'll be back later tonight on the E-Honda's channel for 2A, whatever the fuck it calls it now, like 2A Taco Tuesday, whatever the hell it is there, where we'll talk about guns and some other stuff. Then I'm obviously going to bring up the stuff about today with the second hearing of HB 189 and 186, respectively. And hopefully we'll have a third hearing on this in the next few days or next week or whatever it's going to be. And then we'll actually have it to a floor vote by the end of the month is what it'll be here, or maybe actually it wouldn't be the end of the month because if we give me next week, it'd be in October then, before they go on vacation for Halloween break. Because I know they got 2 more vacations coming up right now, which is basically the end of the month. It'll be, actually the next month it'll be for Halloween. They'll take like a week or so off there. And then I want to see they come back in for a couple weeks in November, and then they'll take off like the 3rd week in November or something like that. And I'll be back in until like the 1st or 2nd week of December, because that's going to be their Thanksgiving time that they take off, our General Assembly does. And then they will take off around Christmas time, like a few days before Christmas there, like the 21st, 22nd, something like that. And then they'll come back in on like the 27th or 28th, I believe is what it is, for like a couple days until the very end of the year is what it is. And then they'll take off till the end, till like the 4th or 5th of next year is what it'll be then, or something like that. Actually, come to think of it, I think it's more like the 11th or 12th next year, if I'm not mistaken, because they'll usually take off like an extra week or something like that just because they can, which is bullshit entirely. But yeah, needless to say, it would be nice to find somebody and settle down, but I realize with me personally, like right now at my age, if I was to find a girl my own age, honestly, I'll be lucky to have a kid with her at that point, just because her being, closer to 40 and stuff like that, and not being as young and fertile as she could have been. So my whole thing right now is I'm trying to look for a chick that's like about 10 to 15 years younger than I am right now, honestly. So it'd be somewhere between like 22 to 20, 27 or 28, somewhere in there, give or take. Even possibly down to like 2021 for that matter. Because that would be the kind of chick that would be, potentially the most fertile and be able to have a bunch of kids with her and stuff like that then. That's if I want to go biological and have more than 1 or 2 children biologically. Again, like I said, I'd be open to actually having, a bunch of adoptions and stuff like that is what it is, though. It all depends. I'd like to have a couple that are biological, though, for sure. Like at least one of each, anyway, that are biologically my children. And then if we were to adopt, like, a whole family out of foster care that's like 3 or 4 kids or whatever the case be, that'd be cool. Granted, that would obviously all be dependent on my financial situation as well, for that matter, because this house could never support that many people, honestly. But yeah, it would be a whole thing of having to have a much bigger place then and actually having financial means to take care of them kids and stuff like that, though. But anyway, it is what it is, man. But that being said, that's pretty much right for the day, though. We'll be back again on Thursday for Buckshot Thursday, where we will talk about a bunch of 2A stuff going on. Not sure how the impeachment of that bitch Grisham is going in New Mexico right now. I know they did the articles up the other day. I don't know how it's gone from there, if they've done anything else for that matter, if they've actually started impeachment legitimately hearings or not, but hopefully those will come pretty soon. There's what it is. And then I know Biden did his dumbass fucking gun prevention crap there again to create some stupid ass office there at the White House or whatever it is there. And then that retard falsely claimed to have been to 500 mass shootings this year alone. And it's like, well, first of all, there hasn't been 500 mass shootings this year, you dumb old motherfucker, number one. And secondly, you weren't even at any of them, you fucking ass clown. So But that's the problem with the left, dude, and exactly why, truthfully, out and about lying like that should be an automatic disqualifier from office, what it is right now. Where if you're going to openly lie like that, you should be tossed fucking office on your ass immediately, is what it is then. So, anyway. But that's about it for today, though. So, as we always like to leave this off now with, always be carrying and make sure you're carrying with one in the chamber because you never know what's going to happen. You don't want to end up like Detroit Urban Survival Tactics. I'll see y'all on the next one. Later.